Don't get cowed down by the stature of these people. Keep your mind yours, the child, open mind. Open mind, I remember a sentence that open mind is like a pond of the softest water on which a ripple created by a bird flying low is assured to reach the shore.
Great and very good morning, afternoon, evening to all my guests across the continent. Thank you so much for your enormous response, what you have received for this episode, Success Sutra of Sangeeta, in conversation with the renowned most doctor of the country, Dr. Vivek Jawali. We can't be more excited than hosting him because he has been my iconic figure. A little introduction about Dr. Vivek Jawali. Presently, he is the chairman and cardiovascular sciences and the executive council of Fortis Hospital, Bangalore. He is also the executive council member in Association of Cardiovascular and Thoracic Surgeon of Asia. He is the founder member of International Society of Minimally Invasive Cardiac Surgeon and as well as former Vice President of Indian College of Cardiology. You are a vastly experienced heart surgeon of the country who has seen a lot of lives. We just want to pick up some part of your wisdom journey today. So welcome, Mr. Jawali, for my show. It's such a great honor for me to host you.
It's my pleasure, Sangeeta, my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Dr. Jawali, my first question, I read about you. You had a very, very humble beginning. Growing up in the farm near the border of Gulbarga and Solapur district, which was then one of the most backward region where you spent your entire childhood. Having such upbringing, there was a very limited scope of dreaming so big, but you proved everyone wrong. We would love to know how your childhood played a role for you for having such a big vision.
Well, that is right. Actually, I grew up like that boy Mowgli from Jungle Book in a unkept farm, which was large on the border of Maharashtra, Karnataka. It was a very backward place, but I was neither in a town nor in a village. I was in my farm. I grew up among the animals, plenty of them, and the farm hands and their children, they were my company. But default, I ate right, I drank right, I breathed the right, good, clean air. I developed a good, agile body. I developed a very adaptable mind and attitude, which was, I thought, a great gift of that childhood. I grew up also to be a better human amidst all those animals and the farm hands. I was born, I only learned it in the hindsight. I was a little dyslexic. I was born with learning difficulties. But I recognize now, looking back, that I was good in languages and I was very good in painting, which became my passion for quite some time. I was blessed with a very tightly bound family, though they were not very highly educated. They were in a humble background. My father was a farmer. We were in a small town and I studied in a poor Marathi small-time school. But the blessing was I had very good teachers with old-fashioned, clean values. The times now are different. Those times were different. And I had teachers with solid value base and I can never forget them. Stories from history, teachings of my parents, they taught me in believing to always create a win-win situation. And also how all doors will open for you if you are doing something which is good for many people. So those were my basic lessons, which are subconscious, which remained inside. And by default, again, I got into reading and I became a voracious reader. I was studying Marathi, and you must understand those days, Marathi was one of the few languages in which all English classics were translated well. For example, the Rise and Fall of Third Reich was written in Marathi by one guy called Mahadev Shastri, called Nazi Bhasmasura Udayasta. That book gave me a complete insight of both First and Second World War. There were many books that I read, and Somerset Maugham, and so far and so forth. So unknowingly, these books, I think, influenced me a lot. And the books never allowed me to feel small, or never allowed me to feel isolated from the world or lost or like a small towner. Books are windows to the world and a highway to ambition. That ambition was subconscious, though I never recognized, but I always never felt small. Innumerable stories of Chhatrapati Shivaji were told to us because that part of Maharashtra, the Shivaji loomed very large, cricket loomed very large. Those stories were very invigorating and they crammed us with a lot of nationalism. The ballads that were sung on those ceremonies that time, they crammed you with nationalism. My father was a humble farmer, but he always taught me to think quality, think out of box. He was the first man to start grapes in my region, and now my district has become a huge grape district. He also started many other crops first time, and so it kind of rubbed on me that think out of box and you will do something nice. He also kept on insisting on quality. He said that even if you start becoming somebody who stitches a chappal sitting under the tree in the town, everybody must say that I have to stitch my chappals by Jawali's son only. So that kind of impressions, they never left us as we grew up bigger. So looking back, I can say that one should live. We were left alone. My parents had no time to tend to us. We were four of us. And I realize now that you must leave them alone. Then they become, strong animals out of your overprotection. And that's how they'll escape being mama's boys or mama's girls. So life in the wilderness of this large farm taught me adaptability, unconscious bravery in life, and books made me think high. And by the way, bravery isn't lack of fear. It is being brave despite of fear. And as I grow older now, I realize what I imbibed from the farm.
That's such a beautiful journey. I literally was getting goosebumps while hearing the story. You brought a lot of wisdom in the story. Your association of growing up in the woods, learning from your father, learning from the different books, and then do whatever that story you talked about the cobbler. Do whatever you do it with so much of passion and be best in that. I think that message
And
stays
also, it
strong.
makes you very street smart in the sense we were posted to look after the poultry one day, then the cow shed other day, the garden other day. You learn to understand how the eggs hatch, how the birds make nest, how difficult to. I mean, swimming is not a luxury; it's a must. Riding on a horse is not a luxury; it's a must. Cycling is a must. So you become a proper youngster who will
Humanity,
grow.
I know.
Yeah.
In fact, yes, we are so protected in this current urban lifestyle in that, cage where we actually just go down to play maybe some cricket or badminton. But, this joy of going out, seeing the hatching the egg, growing with the animal of the farm, I think that gives a lot of vision and that kind of really replicates in your life. Thank you for sharing that
You
story,
become
Mr. Jawali.
flexible and adaptable.
I think
I
that
mean,
is.
you can be
Yeah.
anywhere.
I know. I think people say, this era is not about the fittest of the survival. It is the fittest of the most adaptable, and that really came out very truly. I just
Flexible.
want to know one more question, sir. You never had a scope to know the language called English in your school day. You never learnt English. You only learnt English only during your college days. What I heard about you. So many of your writing and cartoon, as you also mentioned, it has been published in Marathi Children magazine. Even after coming from a Marathi medium, you still bagged the first rank in your MBBS degree and the gold medal in surgery, and also awarded as the best all-rounder outgoing students. I would like to know, it is often said, and I heard of growing, the same story, that top students are generally very focused and they cannot be outgoing. But you had the best of both the world. How did you navigate yourself being the best in everything that you have done?
Okay, let me explain in short. It's a very serious question. See, language for somebody like me and majority of Indians, okay, I'm just a sample, is a big trauma. But I would prefer that I would go back and study again in our local language. My mother tongue is Kannada. My adopted language was Marathi because that time after the independence, we had mostly Urdu in my region, not much Kannada schools. So I was forced to study in Marathi. But that way, I was fortunate to have two mothers, like the Devki and Yashoda of Krishna. I had Kannada, which was my mother tongue, and I had Marathi, in which I studied. So I learned the pearls of both sides, the best of both sides. That was very nice. But language was a trauma. I came out of the farm and went to Gulbarga, which was my native. And I was in the government college of Gulbarga, for PUC. It was a fantastic campus. That whole campus was like a small forest, like our Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore. Now the whole thing is erased and it has become a concrete jungle. They have got a mini Vidhan Sabha there. Anyway, so there I neither knew my own mother tongue well, nor I knew Hindi or Urdu, nor English was zero because I had never heard any word in English. So it was a great trauma, but it did not last long. I mean, you get adapted. The children are very adaptable, and I learned all languages well. In my college, there was a fantastic department of Urdu. I used to every Saturday attend their mushaira, and it rubbed in like anything. English, the girls around you, especially when I went to medicine, half my class or more than that was convent educated, and you want to talk to the girls, and you cannot unless you learn English well. They were actually kind of our motivative factor. We and that time there were no internet, no lingua phone. We would have one Webster dictionary always with us, one Rosette Thesaurus, and then the small radios that you hear. There were two stations, BBC and Voice of America. In BBC, which came from Sri Lanka, you could understand the British pronunciation. And in Voice of America, the Yankee pronunciation. And the Rogers and the Webster expanded your vocabulary exponentially. And I was far better than all these convent educated boys along around with me to vie for the same targets. And I think it took me 6 months and I became quite good. So language was not a problem, but tomorrow what happens is if you study in your regional language, you become very hands-on, very solid. Your foundation is good. Things go, the concept go inside your head very well. English comes later on. It will put the finish on you. It will open the world up to you. You become a global person. The transition is not that traumatic as people think. I can tell you from my example. And I adopted very fast. I got into debating and I won many national intermediate debates in English and my pronunciations, I could sort it out. It was all right. And but this combination schooling in digital language, then coming Marathi, maintained my humbleness. And I was never cocky. I was never overconfident like my convent counterpart. So that also is good to learn your street smartness faster, being malleable, adaptable, flexible, faster. Medical college was another trauma. My core was art. I had learning difficulties, I told you, and mathematics in PUC was so difficult. Then in medical, when we went 1 year before medicine, we had pre-medicals. Those science subjects were very difficult, but I got over that. In medical college, there were three enemies. The anatomy dissection hall where there are dead bodies, then the autopsy halls where there are dead bodies, which it's quite assaulting to a person's artistic core. And then also the labor room, all your romance is killed there. So, but it was okay. I was very angry with my father for having, brainwashed me into going this. So we became little rebels and I got into bad company and I got into college politics. College politics brought into company of some of my friends who later remained in politics, though I did not, and they went very high. What I meant was that, however, whatever we did, we got into bad habits, etc. But it only expanded our bandwidth. My core was literary, so I was good in writing, theater, painting, all kind of music. The cricket was a must. It was a religion, so it never left us. I was opening batsman. And then the politics. And then I got propelled because I was popular. I became the student leader. So at the end, when I got the first rank in final MBA, I was quite an all-rounder. My getting a rank was also a very funny story. I was not a good student and my attendance was very poor. We never realized that our attendance in the final MBBS subjects like surgery, medicine, P&SM, etc. is counted from first, and we never attended those classes. In the end, I had very frugal attendance, so they said they have to debar me. I can't attend the exam. I said, okay. So all my other friends and the girls became doctors, and we remained 6 months back, but it doesn't put you that stamp of a attempt of failure. There's no failure. So next time when I was studying, I had no charter. I didn't know how much to study. So there was another student from Malaysia, a South Indian, Tamilian Malaysian from Malacca, who was my good friend. And then we studied together. Then I could not remain there in Gulbarga. I went to my farm and I studied very hard. My problem was I didn't know how much to study was enough, how much to study was less, and how much to study was too much. So by default, I ended up studying too much. And I came back, and this Zach, who is in Alabama now, he put the polish on me for last 15 days, how to conduct bedside, how to behave with the patient, how to go through the case live, the viva voce and the orals. And when I went to the exam, I surprised all my internal examiners. They just couldn't swallow that. And I got the first rank, and the first rank with very high marks. But then it was like physics, chemistry, mathematics. We studied in PUC. In summer vacation, you forget everything. So I got the first rank. I had such a big party. I was very celebrated. But then came those 2 months of holiday, everything gone. So I think there is something wrong with the way we are taught in MBBS. We are not taught. We are taught and not trained like the nurses. We should be trained. We should be in the wards right from the beginning of the course. And we should be taught purposefully. Say if I'm doing an anatomy dissection on a dead body, the same time, I must know how that part will look in ultrasound, how that part will look in CT scan or MRI, and applied anatomy. So, but that is all a hindsight. But I think somehow, by hearting things, mugging things got us big marks and we got out. So whatever it is, important thing was we came out successfully. And I realize now when I look back, some of my friends were successful. All of them really never grew up. We never grow up. We only learn how to act in public. There's an adage. And that's very important, that we should not allow the child inside to die. That child is open-minded, inquisitive, curious, and it then ends up being very creative. So those were the lessons from my college days. And what was good, that though a lot of these guys were quite flamboyant and vagabond, I don't know any one of my friends who became a bum. All are in good positions. And the best example I told you was YSR.
Right. That's a very powerful story, doctor. In fact, there's so many facets of this entire journey you shared. Allow your child to be creative. Get to doctors, the current academic system of how the doctors are trained. I think a lot of very powerful message you brought.
Humans are very adaptable and very creative. And if you don't have a personality disorder, which you should diagnose in the beginning, I was not diagnosed, but I think despite of anything, you cut their arms, they will still be able to get by. You cut their legs, humans will still be able to get by. So don't underestimate human.
I think that's a very, very powerful message. Whatever shape and form or condition you are in, if you really want to change things, how doctors have actually decided to take on charge, towards the last few months of the MBBS final exam, and he came out having the flying colors in the entire institute. So nothing is too late. Take ownership today and make the difference from today, and time is now. I think that came out very, very strongly. Thank you on that note. That's really, really a powerful message. Now I would like to know one more very interesting part of your journey. I read about you quite a bit, and I know that you have been trained by the celebrated surgeons of Bombay in late 70s and early 80s, like Dr. Parulkar, Pandey, Dr. Bhattacharya, T.P. Kulkarni, and etc. You must have observed the surgeries by all surgical doyens of the in and around the world and befriended them. What was the learning or key takeaway has been for you from there?
Okay, I think if there are any young doctors who are listening to us today, who have finished their MBBS, I can go a little more elaborate on this because there are a lot of lessons in this. When I landed in Bombay that time was far ahead of India, the late 70s and early 80s. Today's times are very different, so don't apply them. Remember how Bombay was and how rest of India was. So I was charmed to go to Bombay. I took a lot of locum jobs there. I banged around everywhere doing patch-up jobs. And then in between, I got my MS seat in Karnataka. I finished my MS, came back to Bombay. But my biggest teacher was the city of Bombay. The city of Bombay was very special. Bombay of that time introduced a small town boy like me to myself. It made me street smart, very practical, very fast. And all the baby fat went off. My slowness of my speed went off. Bombay had a great work culture. There was nothing like that in the rest of India that time. Now it's different. Bombay taught me that anything I desire, go get it. All are equal and all have an equal chance. and don't crib and don't whine. And I arose above that. And that way, I'm very grateful to Bombay as my first teacher. The insecurity of being an outsider in Bombay, though I knew Marathi, but Bombay is not a Marathi town. So that insecurity made me work very hard, and the hard work stood by me. And I tell you that hard work is a sword. You can slay any opposition with that. It's not a substitute for intelligence. So in the department of cardiac surgery in KEM, I joined KEM. KEM is one of the best teaching place. I tried first time and I didn't get it, and the next time I got it. When I was trying, I was working with one of the doyens of Bombay in vascular surgery, major vascular surgery, arch aorta, abdominal aorta. His name was Dr. T.P. Kulkarni. He was in Bombay Hospital. And in the next door, in the other theater, was another doyen, Dr. Nemisha, who was supported by Dr. Dev Saxena, both of them very big. So I had a very good shadow and exposure even before I joined my postdoctoral course in KEM. But when I joined in KEM, that was a different story. I had some very stalwart of teachers. My boss, the departmental head and the dean of the college and the director of health services of Bombay Corporation was Dr. G.B. Purulekar. He was from Bombay. He was very respected by all the Marathi people. He taught me what is teamwork. He taught me that you elevate your juniors and then rely upon them. His greatness was he was a senior surgeon. I don't have that patience that he had. He would stood opposite you and teach you the operation. And after that, he will leave you alone, and then he has more time for his other work. But that department trained me to do self-help. I'll explain you what I mean. Nobody taught us. We had 2 professors, 2 assistant professors. Everybody was very busy. That time, Bombay had another great tradition, the honorary system. Most of the people who come to certain level in government, they leave government job, go into private. So the government sector is always creamed of the best talent, which goes in private, the best teachers. So the Bombay always had this system where they give them piddly amount of few hundred. It's just a status symbol that they are professors, honorary. And we all, different departments of KM always had the advantage of, being trained by also these doyens who were outside. But the ones who were inside were so busy, they had no time to teach. So my group of students, we said that every Sunday when there is no operations happening, morning we sit together after the breakfast and we'll run our own classes. We teach each other. It is of us, by us, for us. And every day somebody would present and others will grill that guy. Those Sunday classes of KEM became such an institution in Bombay. It was such a talk of the town that people from different colleges started coming to attend our Sunday class. I remember Suresh Rao, who is to come from JJ. Suresh Rao today is one of the institution of a pediatric surgeon of this country. He heads the Kokila-Ben Reliance Hospital in Bombay. And my own group, everybody later on self-helped, became tall surgeons. We had teachers who taught us good surgery. And we learned to not depend on anybody. Everybody is a who's who. My closest friend who trained with me, Bala, his name is K.R. Balakrishnan. He is one of the tallest heart and lung transplant surgeon of India today in Chennai. 75% of India's heart transplant are done by him. The other guy, Tendulkar, became the most celebrated and most popular cardiac surgeon teacher in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Then Tushar, who was with me, went to Gujarat, back to his native place, and founded cardiac surgery for that state, and so on and so forth. So that was a different lesson to even from my own colleagues. Dr. Bhattacharya, who was the most junior, but later on he became my teacher, he taught me that surgery was more art than science. He taught me all the nuances of the craft. Pandey, who was the Chunky Pandey's, the actor's father, who was one of my professors, he really trained us, taught us to believe in ourselves. If you want to be a good surgeon, first be a solid man. Those kind of things. And there was a guy to whom, after I came to Bangalore, I went to observe often, Dr. Dudley Johnson. Dudley Johnson was one of the pioneers of bypass surgery. He was in Milwaukee. He was a huge, tall man of Milwaukee, a great fundraiser for Democrats. And I was not licensed. I was just to observe there. But inside Dudley's theater, Dudley was a king. And what happens there, nobody knows outside. So I was allowed to operate. And I was a good surgeon. So I had gone to see how he does second and third time surgery, which we had never seen in India. So I went, and the first surgery that I was observing was a redo surgery. And he asked me to open the chest, and he went back to do some international consultation, somebody from Beirut, somebody from Paris. And I don't know how to open that. I only read. So I kept on scratching. And I was so scared that I'm in America. And I'm scratching. The Dudley comes at my back and he peeks and he said, I'm not anything. And he said, Vivek. I said, what? He said, there is nothing that you can do or spoil that I cannot come and fix it. I said, who cares? And then I just ran amok. And whatever few days I was there, his gang, his technicians, his perfusionists, his nurses, they all fell in love with me. But he put something here that when I came back and I grew in my life, I realized that if I have to head a unit, if I have to be a teacher, my boys and my girls can't screw up anything that I cannot go and correct. And that was a great lesson. The bits and pieces of techniques I learned all over the world. My formula for the junior surgeons or the students who are learning surgery today, who are observing, listening to this, my formula was different. Everybody in my time went to England, went to Australia, went to USA, studied with one big stalwart of a boss, got so brainwashed by his towering personality and his opinions that they never had their own opinions. They had a big chip on their back. They came back to India or they remained there. But then I felt somewhere there was a slavery here. I said, no, I will not do that. I came to Bangalore. I was operating left and right. And I said, I will find out a person who is doing something I want to learn with large numbers, who's a pioneer. And I would email them, go there, put all my savings into that travel and observe. When you are observing, you get to know firsthand. You know, what you read in print is 10 years old. To get a paper made, it takes 5 years. Then to get that paper published takes 2 years. By the time you read, it's the 8th year. It's all passé. And so I go there and I know what is current. Then I know his criticizers, his other colleagues, his juniors, his nurses. I stay awake in the ICU in the night and I know the whole product very well. I come back and I have lots of patients and I start operating. Then I used to call them back to me for a workshop. And some companies, some industries would definitely sponsor that, the hospital sponsor that. And when they are coming for a workshop, I would line up a lot of cases. And my whole team will observe how this master is doing those specialized procedures. And everybody would learn from my team. And they go back and we have almost come up to their nose or up to their chin. And another 100 cases we do here, we would do those 100 cases much faster than them because we have a lot of population here. And so in a short time, we would be eyeball to eyeball with them. And we made a rule that every year, come what may, we will champion two new procedures. Surgery is a very fluid science. It's always changing. Every year is different than the last year. So every year, new two procedures, new two masters from the world. In that bargain, we stopped getting impressed by written black and white words. We stopped getting impressed by anybody's height and tallness because we knew everything in between line. And we also came eyeball to eyeball with them very fast. So this way, over a period of a decade or decade and a half, our bandwidth increased like anything. So that was, I thought, a very healthy formula of self-training. And a lot of people ask me, who's your mentor? Who is your mentor? I feel very shy to tell them that I have 1,000 mentors. My biggest mentor is me, myself. Because nobody is bad, nobody is good. Everybody is a combo. Somebody can just know how to smile well. Learn that from him. Somebody does that anastomosis so well. Somebody does that valve repair so well. And so there is a bag that you keep on filling, like the archers of yesterday who had those things at the back. And we keep on filling that with armament after armament. There are 1,000 mentors and everybody's story should be that. Too many mentors. And then the most important thing is in all this process, don't get cowed down by the stature of these people. Keep your mind yours, the child, open mind. Open mind, I remember a sentence that open mind is like a pond of the softest water on which a ripple created by a bird flying low is assured to reach the shore. Your mind, wow. If it remains like that, then you become a person capable of creativity. And also focus and priority. I'll tell you one story, it's a little embarrassing.
Sure.
We operated a lot of Bollywood people's parents and children and Bollywood people themselves. So we had a lot of network. And they kept on, some of the big guys in Bollywood kept on telling me, you take this new starlet to see open heart surgery. It adds their experience and their exposure to life. So there was this one starlet. I found her extremely well read, and it was so good to be conversing with her. She was very good looking, very voluptuous. Somehow, because of her morals, she never got a chance to go high, always remained in dancing and sisters and all that kind of roles. And she became a very good friend of mine. We used to meet often, talk a lot. One day, she told me that she had bought a new flat in Andheri. Andheri was just developing that time. And she asked me to come on the weekend to stay over on the Saturday, and said we will have a drink and we'll have talk and we'll cook and we'll talk to our heart's content. And the gallery, she said, was overlooking the ocean. It was a different society, different, very orthodox, but still Bombay was different. And being called by a starlight like that for a stayover was a invitation. So somebody like a small towner like me was very excited, and I was looking forward to that. Come 6 o'clock, I was supposed to change my clothes and go out of the hospital and go to her. And at around 4 o'clock, the ward boy came and told me that boss was looking for you. "Oh, tomorrow go dhoond raha hai." Then I called my boss and he said, go down to the cardiology OPD. There is some problem there. It may need to be fixing. So I went to the cardiology. All those boys in cardiology today are those who's who are Bombay, by the way. So there was this patient who had a tumor in the heart. It's a benign non-cancerous tumor. It's called as a myxoma. Those days it was a very exotic diagnosis. Now we are experiencing it, looks silly to us. That myxoma was blocking the pulmonary veins and was flooding the lungs, and the patient was very breathless. It needed to be taken to theater and operated pronto. I called my teacher, my boss. Parulkar said that, so you take him to theater, don't waste time. And he said, you know how to fix it. I didn't want to tell him that I have never done this case. I said, yeah, no problem. I knew that 1 hour I sit tight and read, and I will learn all those in between lines, and I'll go and do the case. And I forgot everything about the starlet. I didn't even call her. I was so focused. The problem was so overwhelming. And we ended up operating till late of night, maybe midnight. And then whole night I sat by the patient, took care of him, and saw that this patient settled well. Morning I realized what a screw up I had done, but then she just discarded me, but it didn't matter. The lesson, the moral was, my teachers screwed this in our mind. What is your priority? What is your focus? And till today, that has not gone.
It's an amazing story. No wonder you have become one of the most iconic doctor, not only for the country. I think
all my timers fell at this.
I think that the ingrained what you have gone through, the learning, the applicability of the knowledge, the Sunday talk, that belief in yourself, and that
Sunday
your
was
mentor.
Group teaching.
Yeah, group teaching, right?
By us, for us, of us, no teacher, just us.
I know.
And
okay,
it gave rise to icons. Jagdish Prasad, one of them. He became the man to go to Delhi and create heart surgery for Safdarjung Lady Harding. He was the youngest to get a Padma Shri. He later on became the Director General of Health Services of India. Bala, I told you, the iconic heart transplant guy.
Right.
The teacher. Everybody shined. I mean, nobody was. I mean, it created, what happened in KM was that we were not supposed to whine. Call in the morning, say this many cases are there, but boss, the water supply is not there today. There is some problem in municipality. Don't tell. You call the water tankers, put the pumps, take the water up. Electricity has not come. Get the generator under rental. Whatever, the one new building was being built, you are told to look after the accounts, the finance, the supplies of the department. You maintain the finance. What happened in the end was you were kicked into being a go-get man. And I was a wholesome product. I was a good surgeon, and a X-ray technician didn't come. Don't cry. Take the plate, take the patient, expose the X-ray, go to the dark room, wash the X-ray plate like a photographer. The technician has not come in the lab. Take the blood, go there. There is a machine. Do the potassium, sodium, electrolytes. So we were jack of all. So I thought at the end of my Bombay tenure, I was ready to go to Zaire, Congo, Somalia, Malawi, and set a heart center. Really.
Wow.
And I exactly did that in Bangalore.
I think that from childhood is that go-getter attitude and doing everything. It made you a master of everything, not only jack of everything. I think
the circumstances and also your seniors like your parents and your teachers allowing you to be trusting that you can handle. And if you cannot handle, then they'll come and.
I think that mentor's word that said, if you make anything mistake, there's nothing that I cannot fix.
Yeah, they may say,
that gave you a lot of confidence.
Or they may not say, but that
at the back of the mind, I have the big hand.
Somebody will come and sort out my screw off.
I no wonder you also created so many, your team also so capable because that's sort of ingrained.
Oh yeah. Our boys and girls are all across India, heading many centers in Hyderabad, Bangalore, Manipal, Mangalore. I mean, it's a very satisfying
I
thing.
know it's very difficult to get the leadership of the good mentor, a good teacher, because that can really take you a long, long way. And I'm glad that India has produced so many amazing mentor teacher across the globe. You have also been, you are one of them. Many doctors, young doctors look up to, and I heard so many stories about you. Now, quickly jumping on the, because you talked about your journey in the Bombay. So I have very interesting questions.
Yeah,
I just wanted to ask you this. While you were enjoying this great career in Mumbai, under
yeah.
such amazing mentors, you were invited by government of Karnataka to shoulder the responsibilities of developing the Sri Jayadeva Institute of Cardiology. And I think you took that challenge and created a niche brand to be reckoned by. How did you manage to build such a strong presence?
Sangeeta, that's a very memorable story in my life. It was a bad offer. I had gone to Chennai, that time it was Madras, to present a paper in one of the cardiac surgical conference. On my way back, I had some of my old friends from college who were in Bangalore. So I just came there to spend a weekend and hang around and enjoy with them. So they told me that they were trying to create a heart institute in the Victoria Hospital campus. And there is this guy, Dr. Chinaya, who so badly wanting to create something like that. I just went and met him. I was a Kannadiga. I always wanted to see what help I can do to my state, and I was quite mature in my own field. I told him who I was and all that. He was so happy to meet me, and he just got hold of me. All the guys in the Department of Cardiology in Victoria Hospital, I befriended in no time. They told me that they were doing something that day and they wanted my help, and I gave them the help. So I made friends, and that's it. And they asked me whether I'd like to come to Bangalore. I said no way, because I had these tall, big guys behind me, and Bombay was the Indian city, and there was so much of promise of money and glamour, and there was no going anywhere. And I never wanted to go to United States. My half my class was United States, because I thought ki apne gali mein kuta bhi sher. So I remained here. But then Dr. Chinaya, he chased me on phone, called me multiple times, and he asked me that finish your course and join us here. And he explained me that what you can do in your own land is whatever great things you may do outside, it cannot compare that. It somehow sounded very logical to me. And the moment I finished my course, I took this so-called illogical decision. My all teachers laughed at me, because Bangalore that time was medically very backward, very underdeveloped. The government hospitals in state government governance were very poor, mired in politics of caste and creed and religions. So I decided that no, I will go to Bangalore, and I want to take up this challenge of creating a heart institute here and help people, and see that I'm a part of this dream story. So I walked out on all the people who had promised me openings in Bombay. So there were two doyens, and they told me that 12 months the doors will be open, and after 12 months then somebody will take those chairs. And I said, okay, but don't worry, I'm not going to come back. So I came to Bangalore, and Dr. Chinaya made me meet the CM that time. The CM was Ramakrishna Hegde, very open-minded guy. They were terrific people, I'm telling you. That was the way the state should have been governed all the way. Then there was a health minister called Putswamy Gowda that time. They were very open. He's a doctor, very open-minded chap. He later died of cancer. And these two people blindly supported us. I put it in Dr. Chinya's mind that you can never break your head with bureaucracy. And it's not possible that we will have breathing space to go with the speed that we want to go. So we asked Mr. Hegde to give us autonomy, and then we were given the autonomous status. Those days it was a very alien concept, and the bureaucrats just could not stomach that. But he overruled them and gave us an autonomous status. Autonomous status should be enjoyed. What um, what mandate you have, you must enforce that. Recently in the COVID operations in Bombay, Chehel, he showed what a person who's given mandate can do. So we took that mandate, and we really did a good job. We were answerable only to the CM, and then the institution just went up. We were not having money. We collected money from all the public institutions like HL, HMT, BHEL, BML, so many places, and a lot of people donated. Today, Jayadeva Institute is one of the biggest, highest bedded, very respected state government teaching heart institute. The attrition there is very low, job satisfaction is good, and it stands very tall. But the beginning was very humble. And at that time, I had two friends in the Nizam Institute in Hyderabad. They were struggling hard, but it was not reaching anywhere. And we taught them the trick of how to get autonomy, how to get the breathing space in government. And those two friends of mine, later on, they created the Medicity in Hyderabad. But there was a health, they came up very fast. And then the other states followed. And we kind of probably triggered a healthy competition among the southern states, and a lot of government institutions came up. I am remembered of a sentence that don't keep cursing that I don't have the best things, I don't have this, that. Don't curse the darkness, light a candle. More candles will come, then bulbs will come, tube lights will come. It's like that. And then I was really not keen on my directorship. I was the senior most. I was merit-wise the top. I had tremendous political patronage. I had everything for me. I could have become the director of the government institute for my life. But I said in government, at least at that time, there's a red line to which quality goes. After that, it's only quantity. You are there taking the exchequer's money to do something good for the have-nots in a limited resource, in an acceptable quality. The haves can go to private and also de-burden the money burden on the exchequer's money. So quality always existed in private that I had seen in Bombay. So that is how in 1995 I walked out and went somewhere else. But the truth about quality is also very funny. The quality has got three faces. My quality, what you think is quality, and the actual quality. And people in their jungle of words keep on messing you a lot. But remember that the truth is only one, especially in science and technology. So I'll tell you an anecdote about the quality comes only when you focus on what you're doing. Every time I took rounds as a professor in a government institution, you are very pompous, you are very big. The rounds have got a large manpower with you. There's a ward boy coming with a hand wash. There are two nurses coming with you. There are postgraduate students, interns, and such a big procession. I always used to ask one favorite question. I said, tell me, who is the most important person here? And they would say you. Somebody would say nurse. Somebody would say director. Somebody would say health minister. All kind of things. And I would tell them that none of you can think that the patient is the most important person. We will not be there if he's not there. But when you go to private, he takes the center chair. He is the most important person to be pampered. And that is all about healthcare. That everybody has to put their two eye on the most important person there. So that was, but I think India is changing. I mean, I'm talking about the 80s and the 90s. It was a very different jungle, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I love the way you said how the quality is defined. Quality single is like my story, his story, patient's story, and all
there are three facets of quality. Everybody keeps bluffing.
That's very nicely articulated. And I think patient, I think so many messages have come on my FB Live. There's so many people wanted to convey a message to you that you have been an extra God to their life. Somebody told that my mother has been sort of, my mother he has done the mother surgery and he totally turned out a case from complete negative to the complete positive. Somebody said that, you have a heart of gold. Somebody said that a great mentor. There's so many pouring life and wishes. So I see you've not only been a heart surgeon, you have touched so many more hearts in the country. The kind of response I'm getting. We are happy, ladies and gentlemen, to take a few questions for Dr. Jawali after maybe 15-20 minutes once we finish the interview. Till then, if you have questions, please feel free to put on live and we'll take your question and post it to Dr. Jawali. So now going to be my next question to you that, that's a beautiful story of you, setting up this Jayadeva Institute of Cardiology. That was a fantastic way, the movement and how you kind of turned out. This is one of the iconic institute in the country today. So salute to you on that. Wanted to know one very interesting point, which always sort of I've been thinking to ask you. I know under your leadership, Fortis Hospital was born. And today they have a presence, I think, over 20 plus countries, saving millions of lives across the globe. Can you share the story? How did you start it?
Okay. No, but before I start the story, Fortis was a up and down story. When down, it's a different story. I was looking for a private opening because I had set Jayadeva. There were a lot of surgeons now whom we had trained, who were capable of taking care of the institute. And I knew that an institute like that, any institution for that matter, the soul is the culture that you put in. And it happens in the first 3 or max 4 years. In that 3, 4 years, if you put a good culture, no matter how many bad leaders come later on, they cannot kill that culture. If you put a bad culture in that beginning, no matter how many good people come later on, they cannot repair that culture. We had done a good job, 5 or 6 of us, of implanting a very healthy culture in this Jayadeva Institute of Cardiology, and which only went up and up and up after that. And I was very happy, and I said, a part of my mission is done. And the next was to bring what is quality, what I saw in Bombay. And nobody from my state should go to Madras, to Vellore, to Bombay, and it needed a private place. And there was Malya Hospital coming up, by Vittal Malya. There was the Manipal Hospital coming up. That was a time in India where nobody in private sector had any idea about healthcare management. They were all dependent on us. And we are not trained professional management people. So there was a lot of confusion. And I found that most of these people had no clue, and I didn't want it to be a part of them because a lot of megalomania and illiteracy. And I met Mr. Habil Korakiwala in Windsor Manor. He had started Wokhart Pharmaceutical, which was a runaway success. From some lakhs, it had become already a 2,000, 3,000 crores empire. And he was very open-minded, modern, extremely current in management from United States. So he had bought a property in Bangalore and the Cunningham Road, the Sharif Chambers, 3 floors, to start an Akbar Ali's departmental store. Bangalore was too primitive and naive, and it was not at all a good market to start any venture like that at that time, 1988. So he gave up that idea. His market research told him that he had made a mistake. He had started a lab, an investigative lab in Kolkata, the Wokhart lab, and he wanted to start hospitals in India because the WTO was coming, and he was very harassed about future of pharmaceutical industry. And he asked me whether he could help me, I could help him to set up a hospital in that property. I saw that it was a multi-story building where a lot of big offices were there. Malya's office, Mohan McKinn's office, ANZ office, and down below 3 floors, and he wanted me to do heart surgery there. All my friends laughed. All my Bombay mentors laughed. But I realized that what's to laugh at? I have a space. I have money. He put 32 crores on my back. And I have smart business guys who will teach me the processes. They will outsource things from Bombay. I said, no, we will do this because there's no megalomania here. There's a will to learn here. There's open-minded people here. I told the chosen people from my team in Jayadeva, and then we were allowed to operate outside also. So we started operating here, and we created in 1990 beginning, the Wokhart Hospitals started. It was starting from scratch, from the paper, from the paints, from the lines, everything we did. In the first few little time, we realized that the non-cardiac revenue earned by this hospital only 3%. So we just stopped that pretense and we renamed it as Wokhart Heart Institute. And then began a saga. We had a tight teamwork, a lot of collective leadership. They were good managers, and there was no attrition. Today, there are some people who are from that time of my team who are still working with me from 1989 till today. Okay, and there was an institutional belief in collective leadership, and there was a role of nurses which was kept as primary. There was a British nurse whom we got called Greta. She became our first nursing head. She brought some fantastic British nursing culture in that institute, and all these young girls who had joined her, most of them have become huge nursing leaders across country. And our own present nursing chief today in Fortis is from that batch. So a lot of innovative practices in management, in medicine, and most important was three things were inculcated by us in each other. The HR department was very smart. Teamwork, sense of initiative, always think out of box, initiate, and ownership. This was the mantra of Wokhart. And then we started really doing well. It was a small property. We improvised everything. We do much more in much less. And the EBITDA that we had achieved that time in the small size 100-bedded hospital, 1,200 heart operations we did annually. And that EBITDA is never matched till now. So
awesome.
Then we started thinking out of box. I said, whatever we do today, next year we have to move it to a more patient-friendly road. So in 1991, the routine bypass surgery on pump, heart stopped paralyzed, we started doing this beating heart surgery. I had seen in Argentina and Brazil some guys doing that, and there was a lot of buzz about it. And we saw and we started here in 1991, and it made a lot of sense. But there were no technologies, no machineries, no hardware for that. It was only bare hands and skill. But as we started doing more cases here in South America, in Latin America, and slowly the word of respect spread in the West. The first article was published in 1994, Annals of Thoracic Surgery, and the respect came. Then the industry followed, and then we got a lot of hardware for that. But 1991, off pump or beating heart bypass surgery, we were the pioneers in India. We were criticized a lot in the beginning, but we kept at it and we popularized this. Today, 70% of bypass surgery of India is done off pump beating heart surgery. Second was in 1995, September, we did this country's first minimally invasive bypass surgery. It reduces the trauma, reduces blood loss, fast tracks the recovery, everything good. But that was the beginning of a true different movement, the movement of minimally invasive cardiac surgery. In 1997, a new society was formed globally. I was the part of the founding team in Paris. It was called ISMICS, International Society of Minimally Invasive Cardiac Surgeons. And today, it has become a huge banyan tree of 5,000 members. And today, India has got a separate society of minimally invasive cardiac surgeons. It's come a long way. The third one, in 1999, we started giving this patient no general anesthesia, but putting a high thoracic epidural, a lumbar anesthesia, and no general anesthesia, no unconsciousness, no endotracheal tube, no ventilatory machine, but open heart surgery. We could go on heart lung machine, stop the heart. That also created a lot of buzz in the world, but we pioneered these three things from that small piddly hospital on Cunningham Road. So all those were fantastic things which made us different, the hospital different. And without our knowledge, we kept on putting a lot of shine on our tricolor, the flag of India. And that time, we had a lot of even management guys and nursing guys who rose. A best example I remember is Vishal. Vishal Bali. Vishal Bali came as an intern from the Bajaj School of Management in Bombay to us. And he was a good-looking, hard-working, very focused guy, extremely articulate, good bandwidth, and he rose in our files and rank. His senior colleague in marketing was one Paresh Chaudhary. He was extremely good, but this guy just tore through the competition and rose up because of his hard work. And for anybody who was showing their mettle, there was always there was no glass ceiling. Paresh today, by the way, is in Reliance. He is the head of their communications. So Vishal rose in a short while after we became a corporate company. We tied up with Harvard. We became a huge 22 hospital company in India. Vishal rose to become its CEO. And when Wockhardt was sold to Fortis, Fortis did not kill Vishal. Vishal's talent, Vishal's bandwidth took him to become the CEO of Fortis and then the global CEO of Fortis.
Wow.
What was the trick? The trick, Sangeeta, is two-folded. Now, this is not surgery, this is management. Two-folded. Right. A, don't be a jumping jack changing your jobs. For the small piddly amount, you will lose your seat at the kitchen cabinet. But if you don't jump jobs, you will remain in the kitchen cabinet. There will be always a vacuum on your head and you keep jumping up faster and faster. A. But more important than anything else in management is a sound product knowledge. This guy Vishal was unmarried. He always hanged out with us in the ICUs, in the wards, on the medical education program that we did. He was almost a proxy doctor, and he knew everything about medicine, about the patient's problems, because the patients all came to him complaining that somebody had no blood, somebody had problems, somebody had financial crisis, somebody had some personality disorder, relatives who was fighting with the staff. He handled everything. Over a period of few years, the amount of product knowledge he had was unparalleled in India. Okay. Today, if you ask anybody from the healthcare world who is Vishal Bali, they will tell you that he's there. So we had, and then we tied up with Harvard. And Harvard charged a heavy fees, but they accredited us every year. They inspected us every year. And under that tremendous pressure, we just polished and polished and polished.
My God.
So there was a lot of hard work. People don't understand. They only look at success. There's a very famous line in Urdu. Saaz se nikli wo dhun sabne suni, but saaz pe jo biti wo kis dil ko pata.
Wow, that's a beautiful note.
So it's a sellout story actually, and our suffering in building this work hard by Habil Khorakiwala, his inputs in business management were so smart, but he never, put his foot in our foot.
Absolutely.
He only came once a year, but he gave fantastic advices. I moved on to the board of directors chair very fast, and once we became corporate, and I was very lucky to be rubbing shoulders with some of the magnates in business management, C.K. Prahlad, Ashwin Dani, who was the head of Asian Paints, then people like Shyam Benegal, and all kind of people were there on the board. But it was very nice. My teacher, Dr. Parulkar, after his retirement, we pulled him onto the board. So it was nice. Actually, I mean, it's an unending story. Then later on, there was a screw up in the pharma industry. The pharma industry of Habil went into a glut of 3,200 crores, which was too big a money at that time. He had to get his nose off by selling the greenfield hospitals of Wockhardt, 10 hospitals, to Fortis, which was then fund flushed. And but he maintained the brand. He again rebuilt a new hospital in Bombay, and the story goes on. So
I think sir, आपके स्टोरी पे एक्चुअली एक ऑटोबायोग्राफी बन जाएगा. मतलब इट्स सच पावरफुल मैसेज.
संगीता, ये चलते जाता है. सितारों से आगे जहां और भी है, अभी इसके इम्तिहान और भी है.
आपको बहुत अच्छे शायर भी आते हैं सर, मेरे को पता नहीं पड़े.
That's my Gulbarga. So that's the story of Wockhardt. But it's a terrific story that Wockhardt was sold to Fortis. Nobody left from the top management. Even when Fortis went into problem, nobody left from the top management and the top clinical talent. They stayed, and it's the employees who saved the company. Though the chairman betrayed the company. And it's a great story in Indian corporate business, and the world doesn't know. Our media doesn't know. Our media doesn't showcase it.
Very powerful story, because people say a happy employee brings the happy customer, and your employee had been they took the charge and then they made a difference, and that's what you brought. I like the story you
No, these companies are made by us, for us, of us. It's like that. Even today,
Abraham Lincoln
culture,
that thing.
Fortis acquired Wockhardt.
Right.
But you know what they acquired the most? Not the property and all this huge, expensive real estate, but the software and the DNA that were created as a culture of this company. And we usually, when a new company comes to buy a smaller company, it changes the culture of the old company. Here, we change the culture of the new company. It was the greatest acquirement Fortis did. They acquired a culture.
I think that very, very beautifully.
More shining. It withstood. The chairman went in jail, but look where the company is.
Exactly. I think very beautifully articulated. The first 3 years, how the culture and the vision you put in. The rest is follows. Later, whatever you try to do, it doesn't happen. And one more very strong message came out. Today, everybody's success is like the tip of the iceberg. You only see the top. But below that, the hard work, the late night, that
सांस पे बीती वो किस दिल को पता.
सांस पे बीती वो किस दिल को पता, right? This is very, very powerful. We only can celebrate that, but we don't know what's all. How does it take, I think this is a very powerful story can be for the Indian business or the World Business School. Sir, you have never done the MBA, but the kind of management lesson
but our media has to understand this. Our judiciary has to understand this. Everybody has to be very soft, sensitive to India. Let's not talk there. Let's not.
I know. We will come back to that.
No, let's not go there.
Yeah. Let's park it for time, because a lot of questions are coming.
Yeah. Okay.
I have the last 2 questions before we jump into the rapid fire, and then we keep the few minutes for some live questions and answers.
Okay.
Sir, I wanted to know, you have bagged uncountable awards. One of them I recall being the Lifetime Achievement Award for the medical excellence in India from Harvard University. Can you tell us what has been the key success sutra or success formula for this huge success of yours in 2-3 words?
Basic, everything comes after that. Hard work. You can't have the luxury of sleeping in surgery or in major things like that where lives are at stake. Okay? Hard work. It is not a substitute for intelligence. First thing. Second thing is penchant for excellence. And the excellence ka ek hai ki we are what we do repeatedly. And excellence then is not an act but a habit. Third, do much more in much less. Frugality. This is a winning formula. And when you do this, slowly you will find that the complication is money starts pouring on you. name starts pouring on you, fame starts pouring on you. That's a complication. You don't have to go for it. If you go for it, you will not have anything in your hand. Look at this and everything else will come.
Wow.
Money, fame is a complication. Then the, as I told you, always think out of box, innovate, improvise, but in such a way that you don't make things much costlier than what they were. So go onto more patient-friendly road, less pain, faster recovery, easier surgery, more reproducible techniques and stuff like that. So we never fell for these big zaz like robots and stuff like that. We'll not live that, but Indian innovations must understand, or global innovations, I would say.
Absolutely.
More patient-friendly roads, and they are mass applicable, not just applicable for some people and just for the sake of some scientist fad or a company's hunger. Okay. Then also the creating juniors. Take pride, like how we were made by them. Create juniors. Today, it's so great for me to see my students, my juniors, not only in India, but maybe in UK, maybe Australia, to see them in power position, USA. So that is another thing. As we started innovating things, we started getting coverage and getting noticed. We had an article written in Time magazine, when? 1997 or 1996, I'm not sure. There was an issue, special issue of Time magazine called Technology in Human Life. And that time, this video conferencing was a science fiction. Okay. So we started one new idea that we had the laptop, and we used to put the laptop in front of the patient and go and, make him, take a video of him. Have his son or daughter who may be in Montreal, etc. Tell them not to spend money coming here. Send that money instead to pay for their health. And they would ask me questions, and I would ask the father or mother, and then we'd put the video on the mail, and they would see the video, and then we had a improvised video counseling. Time magazine covered that as an article.
And that's very innovative, no? During 1997.
It was 0 paisa. It did not cost anything. And hospital got so much of branding, so much of laurel for that.
Right.
Then came Economist in 2012. Economist sent a journalist to my hospital to understand frugality and how we do much more in much less. If you look at bypass surgery patient getting discharged from a hospital, and let us call in business language a product. That product in Cleveland Clinic in America might pay $100,000 or $150,000. And here he paid about $3,000. Now, was the product equal? What do you mean by the product equality? A, did he get all the grafts that he was supposed to get in bypass surgery? How much blood did he get? How many got infected? Blah, 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 all these parameters. If you look eyeball to eyeball with Cleveland Clinic and us in Bangalore, we were not that bad. We were almost eyeball to eyeball. But why we were spending so less? Why were they so spendthrift? Why there was so much of medical device consumerism, and we were reusing and doing things like that? If there was a blame on that, we would have had more infections. So Economist wrote an article on me and through my story over about India, the frugal innovators. So if you type my name, Vivek Jawali, frugal innovator, The Economist, you may go to the story.
I know, I've actually done a Google search before the interview. There are so many came out.
A year after that came Paris Match from Paris and Stern from Germany, and they made stories on us like that. So I know that was a very fantastic journey. You say shairi, but shairi has got a thing that it tells you so many words in little words. Kai baar डूबे, kai baar उभरे, kai baar sahil se aa टकराए, तलाश हो तालाब में वो लिज्जत मिली कि अब ये दुआ है कि मंजिल कभी ना आए.
सच्ची आपको इतने सारे टैलेंट है, मेरे को पता भी नहीं था.
No, I'm telling you, in your own life or the people who are listening to me,
right?
Manzil is a bore. Then you are suddenly very bored. I mean, you are a lonely person. Don't get into the manzil.
Exactly.
Manzil kabhi na.
Enjoy the present. I think three very powerful story came out from Doctor's talk. Being frugal, being in the present moment, having consistency, and changing that moment. What you can do today, it makes you what you are. I think that's on that powerful note. One of my last question, Doctor, to you before we move to the rapid fire and the live question answer. What, this is a little different, but still wanted to ask you, what is your view on the current affair where there is so much of religious dogma, political dogma, scientific dogma? People seem to be getting drifted away. What is your message for the youth? And the
also
pandemic, of course. So I want to know, what is the message for the youth of the country or the countrymen, whoever listening to us?
Now, this is a very touchy subject, but I'll be brief, but let me tell a few add-ons, not repeating whatever people are talking. Before going to anywhere, you are listening a lot of black fungus. You see around you, if you see 20 people, 15 people are wearing such dirty, overused, not washed, not sterilized, or not new masks. Those masks are on your face. There is so much of heat there, so much of sweat there. The fungus will grow like that. So first learn how to use the mask, how to use a clean mask, how to discard it in time. If you don't have money, have cloth mask, 2 masks, 1 wash, 1 wear. N95 mask, your institution, you can give it for sterilizing by UV light, but wear good mask. Coming back, 2 things. A, the healthcare, and second is the politics. The healthcare, first is pandemic. Pandemic, to manage any pandemic in any country, there are 3 pillars on which the management will rest. The governance, politics, the bureaucracy, administration. Political pillar, administrative pillar. We might have faltered, but not that bad. The third pillar also is solid and more important if you look at Japan, etc. That pillar is the social capacity. These 3 capacity, governing, administrative and social capacity. Our problem as a nation is we have a very poor social capacity. I don't want to dilate on that. All of you are very wise. Another thing about healthcare is the big mistake that we have done as a country, India. You know, in Shah Jahan's time, British came and they got a trade license from Shah Jahan and they started a frugal trade which grew very fast. Those times there were thugs and looters. So they used to have a small military which was blessed by Shah Jahan. The military needed medical manpower. And that's how the medical manpower grew. The East India Company became very big before the mutiny happened in 1857. By the time their medical service was big, it was called East India Company Medical Service. Then the Queen came down after the mutiny was broken and she took over East India Company. It becomes a British institution. When it became a British institution, the medical service was renamed as a civil service. It was called IMS, Indian Medical Service. The Indian Medical Service through the First and Second World War did such a fantastic job in cholera, in malaria, in plague, in anthrax, in smallpox, and also trauma management in the wars. So they became very famous across the world. 1947, 15th August midnight, IMS was buried. And for having buried the INS and not having the IMS today, Indian Medical Service, because it's a very specialized management, public health, epidemiology, and administrative aspect of the public health is a very specialized thing. You can't have somebody on sericulture, tomorrow going to agriculture, then go to revenue, then go to PWD, then suddenly come to healthcare. Aisa nahi hota hai. So IMS, having destroyed IMS, I think the Lord has punished India for aborting a baby which was actually full term and we aborted it. So I think if the politicians are listening to this, they must understand that we are in a hurry, in urgency to rediscover IMS and build it up. And healthcare is a very complex subject. Even America, a big country like America, is down on its knees. But we are very smart people. An IMS-like body will come out with lots of models for the whole world. So that's it. And then the politics. Politics, I don't have to tell more. Only my message to the young guys is that the moment you step out of this country, you are Indian. You are a nobody other than an Indian. Nobody cares you are Muslim, you are Christian, you are Hindu, you are Sikh. All these are all political circus. You are an Indian. You go to Hajj, you go to this one, anywhere. Your country is big, you are affluent, you are looked up with respect. So all the fights, all the dirt, keep it here inside the house. You go to any big household, Kunba, there are all the daughter-in-laws instigating their husband, there are a lot of fights in the house. Let the fights be in the house. Let us not wash our dirty linen and malign brand India outside. If some leader is shining, that leader's brand and country's brand cannot be separated. Everything at the end of the day is brand India and Indian affluence. So that is my message to all the youngsters who are listening to me. Whether you will say this community will rule, that family will rule, that caste will rule. No, that will only screw up that whole institution. Look at any big institutions who are ruled by a such thing. They are all in rot. But meritocracy, professionalism, And accountability, forced accountability, only will take us to that level that we want to dream to go. Okay? So forget our last generation. Let them fight, let them go to hell, let them do whatever they want. You are the new generation. You are the modern Aulad. So you are the new world and you will create these new heights together, not in
Amazing.
isolation, together only. And remember, this country, forget about all these. There's one more very silly thing. This country has a fantastic, unrecognizable software. If you are a non-resident Indian staying in America, all my friends are there. Every year you come back, you are so fascinated that the country has only moved ahead. There is not a single year when this country went backwards. So much is talked shit about our country, okay? Never the power has changed by bullet, always by ballot. Never. This country has never gone banana. People think it will disintegrate, it will go banana. When did it go? So this country has a funny software. Hindus are fighting Muslims, Muslims are fighting this. But in the end, things get back. Somehow every year we move ahead. So trust in the DNA of India, trust in this God-given software, and don't ask too much from the God.
Sir, that is a most powerful message I have heard across so many interviews I have taken. I think you articulated it beautifully. It is, that country, go as a nation together. You
You
yourself
have no
stand out as a
choice.
brand.
It's not something idealistic. You have
Yeah.
no choice.
And when you don't have a choice, imbibe to it and then feel proud of it and go together is make a difference. We can do it. We have done it for no
So
matter how many.
you have to be nationalistic. You just ain't got no choice.
Exactly. And that's the only message for the youth. Please do listen. This is a very powerful notation. We will now jump onto the rapid fire round. I have that funny rapid fire and a one-word answer. Generally, I ask to all my guests. So with your permission, sir, would like to jump onto the rapid fire. One philosophy you have always stood by.
I told you just now. Again, I tell you, work real hard. Don't compromise on quality. Money and fame is a complication.
I know. So money and fame will follow if you really focus on your work with empathy, frugality, and dedication. I think that's the message. Great. One incident that has changed your life direction. I know it cannot be one incident, multiple incident, but one incident you want to really put it out there, which has
No, I
made you what you
remember.
are.
I'm just remembering something. I was a bad student. I was vagabond. I had very violent friends. I I told you how I got my first rank. I just sat tight and 6 months I read hard. But then I became an intern. When I became an intern, I realized I knew nothing. It's all I was just a parroting. So how to give injection, how to put a bandage, how to dress a wound, how to put plaster of Paris, everything, how to drain an abscess, everything I learned from the nurses and ward boys. And in 15 days, I became an acceptable quality doctor and intern. And at that time, there was a young, good-looking girl from a small village near Gulbarga called Fartabad who had burned badly, 60% burns, and was brought to the hospital. 60% that time is a certain death. So my departmental head, my surgeon, Dr. His name was Dr. Desai, he told me, इसके साथ ज़्यादा झगड़ते मत बैठ, let her die quickly, फालतू में time मत बर्बाद. You are young, you can't accept that, you are cocky, and you are got too much of poetry in your mind. You can't accept that. And as soon as he went, I said, what defeated people are there? And I sat day and night with that girl. And that girl was, that backward Kannada girl in that Kannada. She was telling her story, and I realized she had not committed suicide or anything. She was burned by her in-laws. And I tried to tell the medical officer, to tell the police. Nobody was bothered. They wanted to get rid of her. It really went here. And then her family and her father and mother were crestfallen. They were so broken. They loved her. She was such a lovely child she was. And after a couple of days of fight, because of my care, she didn't die in hours. She died after 2 days. And then I had to go and tell the family that she's dead. It was a great kind of a new thing in my life, how to break the news of a death and all that. I am telling them that your child is dead. You take the dead body. They fell on my feet. They said, we know she will die, but how much you helped her. You were bigger than her father and brother. I realized that time that medicine offers you that kick, which is bigger than any kicks that I was trying to get in my college days. And after that, my whole object changed. And I never looked back upon not being a doctor.
Wow.
Oh, that one. And there was one more incident I have to tell you.
Sure.
The two incidents that changed me. I was in KM hospital. As I entered KM, I entered with a chip on my back because I was working with typical clinic before I came there. I was just hardly 1 week. And then there was a young boy who had a hole in the young girl who had a hole in the heart, and we had to close the hole. I was quickly trained within 1 or 2 days how to open the chest and how to get ready for the boss to come and operate. So I opened the chest. The heart lung machine was there. There was a senior man called Joshi there. He has become my great friend in 1 week. And I was waiting for my boss, and the Parulkar was a tall guy. He came opposite. He came, and I was to go that side, but I suddenly noticed that the tall guy is coming in front of me, and he's not behind me. So I don't know. Then I looked at the pump man. He said, "Kar de, tere ko kya?" That means the boss is standing on the opposite side, means a signal that you are going to operate this case. So I just conquered my fear because I know that, and I was hardly 25, and I had never done anything like this. So I had read, I knew what I had to do, and then I started operating. Parulkar was a very passionate teacher. Every step he would tell you, but he was a very bad mouth. there are a lot of bad words in Marathi. We start with "b." It went on and on. I just put my ears closed, and I did a very good job. The heart was stopped. Heart was not even closed. I was just closing the chambers. Suddenly he removed his gloves and he walked off. That means he was very happy. He has no doubt that the patient will not do well. He will do well. And I looked at the sister and the technician, and they said like this, and they said, "Aaj party, aaj party." So I just closed and I went out, and I was extremely emotionally troubled. I didn't know what it was, but I was almost shivering. So, for a young boy to stop somebody's heart and to control life, you have no idea what, and that time of India, okay, early 80s, when half the patients died, you don't know what it means. So I asked my senior to take care of this patient for a few hours. I'll go shower and come. I went to my residence quarter. I stood under the cold shower, and I realized I had read the book Godfather, very racy book. You can't put it down. And Michael, after killing the police officer, hides in Sicily, in the village of Corleone. And there, with his bodyguard, he's walking, and he sees that girl, that he gets mesmerized, and he ends up marrying that girl. And when he's watching that girl, the Italian bodyguards tell him that, "Boss, you had a thunderbolt." I felt that I had the thunderbolt, and I had found that girl that I would fall in love. And I'm telling you that thunderbolt has not yet worn. These two were very memorable instances in my life.
And it's a very, very touching incident as well. Like, the kind of...
No, but if the youngsters keep their mind open and sensitive like this, don't become hardcore early in life, keep the capacity to be surprised. And you all know what you don't like. Try to learn what you like. Then you will fall in love. You will learn some art, some technology. Something like this will happen. Thunderbolt will happen.
Aajkal ke youngsters are so...
Aajkal mat bolo. Hello. We are not Buddhas.
Aajkal I'm telling the new genre.
All the time, even my time, today's time, majority know what they don't like. Yak. What you like.
Just focus and take a deep dive into that.
Then you are capable of getting a thunderbolt. Otherwise, you're not even capable of falling in love.
Exactly. If you don't fall in love, how would you get thunderbolt? So anyway, sure. That's what you like. And then, yeah, perfect. On the one of the, most remarkable moment of your, I know there are quite incidents which change your life, but what is that one most memorable moment that made you wow?
I told you that day that Dudley Johnson came on my back and said that there's nothing you can do that I cannot correct. But
that's was most even that I think became my memorable interview, with that particular moment.
No, that was a very memorable moment.
And what is the most embarrassing moment?
I know. Our life is full of embarrassing moments. There is nothing like the most.
Which is to laugh, or you feel a little shy?
I would say that day I didn't keep up the date of that starlet in Bombay. It was my most embarrassing. I didn't hide my face. Okay.
I think you chose to be a heart surgeon.
This embarrassing moment पे एक शेर आ रहेगा कि मील का पत्थर तो महज एक धोखा है. रास्ते तो ठोकरों से बनते हैं.
अरे वाह.
रास्ते तो ठोकरों से नापे जाते हैं.
सर आपके साथ शायरी करना पड़ेगा.
Embarrassing moment after embarrassing moment, and your story won't be different, or anybody who's listening to this program.
Right.
So there is nothing like the most embarrassing.
I know, absolutely. Sir, I know you have the God sent one of the human being who came to the earth, and you have been loved by so many people. So many, people look up to you, a lot of respect. I know if you wouldn't have been a heart surgeon, what would you have been today? I know you've chosen to be a heart surgeon, but if that wouldn't have happened, what would have the other career you would have chosen for yourself?
You know what? I think I might have gone into visual arts. I was very good in painting. Whole day and night in my school, I only painted. And I would have taken it seriously. And I don't know, it might have taken me in photography. It might have landed me in the ad world. I don't know. But I don't think about
कितने सारे quality है, visual art, painting,
no.
poetry.
There's no point in thinking of all that.
But yeah, anyway, I think you knew what you want to do and then you did so beautifully. That matters the most. What is the one famous leader you reckon by?
I wouldn't recognize any leader. I don't know. I'm that arrogant. But if you ask me what is a quality of a leadership for you, me, anybody,
right?
Leadership is the power of one, harnessing power of many. And secondly, character of a leader is to have power, but not to use it.
Absolutely. This is so
that
beautifully.
I call as a great leader. Who's a great leader? I'm not cowed down by anybody.
That's what you exude about yourself. Everybody, your team talks so highly.
You want to be a good leader, harness power of everybody by you, and you gain power more and more daily. But if you are using it, you are a bad leader.
Amazing. Thank you so much. On that note, we close the rapid fire, and I have the last 5 minutes before we close the session. So I have a lot of questions pouring in, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, whoever's watching Facebook Live, you can post a question. We'll pick up from here. But before we go to the live question and Q&A, I have the last section of my interview, which is a one-word answer. I give you two options. You need to choose one. So we start, sir. What would you choose? Being kind or being right?
Kind. But you know what? Actually, I would like to be both. I have to be right and I have to be kind. My wife is not like that. My wife, Sadhana, she would choose kindness, but not me. I would like to be right and kind. And it is possible.
Simultaneously.
Yeah.
But if you don't have an option,
both are equally important.
No, if you don't have an option, that moment.
I would be kind, but I will wriggle in the rightness.
Got it. That's a beautiful answer.
From the back door. Yeah.
Okay. Similar way, the second question will be, again, is the same thing, compassion or rightfulness. I think
compassion.
You answered it.
Always compassion. But compassion, not of the filmy kind, that you do this much and make a hangama of that much. Do it and keep quiet.
I'm getting some wonderful question. I'll ask you about all this after this.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one. Mountain or ocean?
Mountain.
College life or school life?
Oh, everything is a journey. When you make a cocktail, the angustra bitter also is very important. The gin also is important. Vodka is important. So you can't say college life. Life is a cocktail. And as you grow old, it's a bunch of memories. Every memory is important.
Every memory is important. In that, because you talked about all the cocktail, let me ask you the next. Yeah, let me ask you the next question. Glass of wine or a walk in the garden?
Walk in the garden, always.
Okay. In this COVID time, given a chance you can spend the weekend, would you spend the weekend over a friend's place or family, or Netflix in your own room?
Netflix in my friend's place with my family.
Oh, sir, you are too smart.
Yeah. How can you be not alone?
But every question you are sort of giving a answer.
Correct. No, you have to be. Friends are most important. See, God gave you a family. As you grow up, the family gets little fainter. The friends become the family that you made by choice. Yeah, they are most important people in life. But you cannot be. You take the value, the Netflix, the wine, everything there.
Right. Amazing. Book or a film? Movie? Which one?
Movie. I am a movie buff. I had some amount of brush with Prithvi Theatres and the Bombay, the companionship with these guys from Bollywood. I got smitten by the science and art behind the lens. And I like movies.
Okay, so one question I always ask to most of my guests, people say that for every successful man, there are one woman and you have two, one daughter and your wife. So who do you choose, Sadhana or Nivedita?
No, that question is meaningless. How the daughter becomes an extension of your own body, and you cannot. That's a most natural love. What you call as the most natural. But my wife is truly the woman behind me, and without her, I could have not done what I've done. That's the most important person in my life.
Amazing. Sadhana ma'am, I would love to meet her someday for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
She's Anjali. My wife is a chairman of the Om Shanti Dhama Gurukul, which teaches Vedas in Bangalore. Okay. And she's also the chairman of the DAV schools of Bangalore. They both are they both are great pieces of culture in Bangalore. which he chairs.
Amazing. So one question, maybe last question, because a lot of questions pouring in from the live session. Last question. You have been a movie buff. What is the favorite most movie of yours? I know there will be many, but
that also is like asking you which is your best child. But still, just to entertain you, and also because a lot of crowd here is current, I'll not go to old times. Tom Hanks' Forrest Gump.
Oh, that's
I found that movie excelled in each department, starting from cinematography to storyline to dialogues to casting to acting to the impact, direction. Any department you will, that movie.
I know, that's my favorite.
Do very good in some departments, but this movie just did good in all departments.
Okay, thank you so much. You have been so spontaneous, and it was an amazing rapid fire and one-word answer. Now, the last 2-3 minutes, we'll take a few questions. There are so many questions. I don't know which to choose, which not to choose. Somebody is a little
choose the most sensible ones.
Okay, I don't know. This is a little off the bit. Before I choose a sensible one, what is doctor's secret of looking evergreen?
Don't keep cobwebs here. Forgive. Don't forget. Right. Because if you forget, you will do the mistake again and let people, do the same thing on you again. But always forgive and don't keep any cobwebs. And, if you are working hard and you are moving fast, they say you move faster than the time. Time remains there and you remain young.
Right.
This is a lighter vein.
Amazing. One of them, I think Sudhakar V. Prabhu, what is your strength of, how did you handle failure? What is that one advice to the people to handle, how to handle failure?
Failure is difficult to handle for anybody, not just me. But then you must learn to brush. You fall. What do you do after you fall? You will cry with pain because it hurt, it got bruised, the bone was so badly hurt. You get up, you brush your wounds, you brush your clothes, you limp for a few steps and go.
Move on. That's it. You just need to dust off and then keep walking.
Yeah. And that's failure, मैंने बोला ना तुम्हें कि मील का पत्थर तो महज एक धोखा है, रास्ते तो ठोकरों से नापे जाते हैं.
अरे वाह सर, आपके साथ एक शायरी का सेशन करना पड़ेगा.
नहीं बराबर है ना,
बराबर एकदम परफेक्टली बोला.
So failure से कोई immunity नहीं है. Right. And don't run away also. It will come.
Embrace it, learn from it,
in fields like mine, if a patient dies, you have no idea how difficult it is to swallow. Have you seen that movie called City of Angels?
Yes, I did.
Okay. If those who have not seen to understand what I'm talking, go see that movie, City of Angels.
Absolutely.
Okay, next.
Okay, next question. This is a little medicine, COVID-related questions. Doctor, my parents got vaccinated about 2.5 weeks back with the second dose of COVID shield. Suddenly, one of them running temperature for last 2 days. What is the best way? Is it a viral or how should I get it checked?
Okay. Vaccine does not protect you from not getting infected again. Vaccine is for survival. Your next infection may not be bad. It may not take you to ICU, but you can infect the whole family. Somebody's got fever in your family, first quarantine. Quickly RT-PCR, physician, and blindly follow the physician and don't get your head spoiled by the WhatsApps.
I think there's a message. Too many WhatsApp moving around, and that's what we have to be a little careful.
90% are all false.
Absolutely. Fake. This is all for the marketing. All for marketing. One of the person, Doctor, I think it was Siddharth, how to set up a cardiac center in a small town which is equally competent. I'm not getting a direction. I know doctors.
See, most of the doctors, their tragedy is nobody is taught basics of management. Every professional, the engineer, doctor, lawyer, everybody, even judges, they should be taught some basics of management. We have no clue about how to manage human resources, how to manage money. If somebody is an epidemiologist and you give him 100 crores and say, do this project, that fellow will froth in his mouth. He can't even count how many zeros in that 100 crores. So for somebody like that, you will need some help from professional business guys, and you'll have to do a project report and see the feasibility first. And after you do the feasibility, then the doctor in you knows what to do. Don't worry. First, find out is it feasible or not. You shouldn't go in red and wipe out your family's finances.
Absolutely. That's very critical. Just be sensible on the family finance and then see the feasibility and then move on. There are so many more comments coming around. Somebody said, did exactly that. I'm alive because of your advice and guidance from KAs. I think lots of messages pouring in, appreciating you and what you have done for the lives of so many people. One of the last question, maybe I will sort of take before we kind of end the session. after the vaccination, what is there a chance of, what is that? I'm sorry, not able to read it.
Forget it.
After the vaccination, after the vaccination, yeah, after the
question.
Okay, you answer that. So they're asking that would you actually, is there a question on the life risk after the vaccination? Is there a question of life risk after the vaccination?
No. Dr. Do you know India has now vaccinated 19 crore people? What happened? How many died? That media would have been at the throat of everybody if people were dying. So please stop this crap. Don't listen to the social media. Listen only and only to doctors. Don't listen to anybody. The problem here is the people who matter, only them nobody is asking. Judges are knowing everything. Journalists are knowing everything. Everybody knows everything except the real guys who have studied that particular thing. So listen only to doctors.
I think that's most valuable, listen only to doctors, don't get swayed by all the social media content.
No, not at all.
I think we are supposed to keep it for 1.5 hours. We almost
I don't remember any pandemic in the history of this earth where people went so much chatter on that pandemic.
Right.
And everybody became a scientist.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, there are like thousands of questions. It's really difficult to ask and pick up one of them. But I think I'll stop. I think one of the message came. Somebody said, doctor, if you could design a course for empathy and bedside and for the medical graduate, because you are really true empathetic leader. So I just thought I'll bring that out.
I didn't understand.
They said somebody asked, doctor, if you could design a course for empathy because you have been the true empathic leader.
Okay, I got it. No. On a serious note, our education is flawed quite a lot. You become a doctor. Yes, it will teach you. There are certain things to be fine-tuned. I am actually next weekend giving a keynote address to the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences 26th Foundation Day. But most important thing is the life skills. Whether, as I told you, you're a lawyer, you're any chemical engineer, electrical engineer, electronic engineer, doctor, blah, blah, you have to understand basic management. You must learn how to do public speaking. You must be articulate. You must know how to handle finances. These are all must for every walk of life. You must have some grooming, some finishing, how to be dressed, how to sit, how to eat. I think all the courses have to teach that. So as I told you, you go into government service, you climb up, and suddenly somebody gives you 100 crores and gives you a project. See how they will be nalax for that. Though they are brilliant rank students. So we have 81 hours of a course, but it's very silly in that syllabus. It should be done somewhere in the end. Like, the young girls, you do a finishing school before they marry and all that kind. Exactly like that. A guy, surgeon, is going to go out and then let him go through this finishing school. You teach him business. Business, in negotiation is a science. All these chutlu young business managers will buy all the talented young doctors for cheap rates because that guy doesn't know how to negotiate. So basic management is a must. There has to be a course, a finishing school for every professional.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, out of all the interviews I have personally hosted, this has been the most engaging. And this has been one of the most, I thoroughly enjoyed my interview. Never went for more than half an hour to 40 minutes.
Okay.
I almost completed 1 hour, 45 minutes because it was so engaging. So many people. And I really want to give our heartful gratitude and thanks for sharing your valuable time and input. I think life lesson. This lesson will change so many young life tomorrow. I think you have given a very powerful message to the society. How to become a better version of yourself, better person by great determination, perseverance, empathy, and frugality. I think that came out very strongly. I'm sure one day, if I ever produce a movie, I'll actually do an autobiography about your life. It's been one of the most, I think, exciting journey and life story I have personally heard. And then thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you.
It's been always
I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching the show. We are coming out with many powerful stories with Olympic gold medalists, with the celebrated doctors, celebrated business entrepreneurs, celebrated startup exits, and many more powerful stories. Stay tuned every Sunday, 12 o'clock on Success Sutra with Sangeeta. On that note, thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.
and hit the bell notification so that next time you get notified whenever I upload the next video. Thank you.